do not either. What they do is they read a summation. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. So I'm going to start us with some Jewish prayers that are said every year during this time. By the way, they celebrate this the 13th and 14th this year, but they're celebrating all the way through to Sunday. That's usually what they do. They make it a 4-day celebration. So we're still right in the middle of Purim, even over there, because I do believe it is probably Sunday by now, or close to it. So we will be making all the noise and such as soon as I do this blessing. So this is the blessing, and I should go, Barak Atah Adonai, but I'm not going to finish. I'm going to read it in English, because, we want to know what we're praying, right? So it's really a blessing before we read from the story of Esther. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us concerning the reading of the Megillah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our forefathers in those days at this time. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this occasion. Blessed are you, God, Spirit of the universe, who has given us life, has sustained us in that life, and has brought us to this moment in time. Amen? And they say, Huzzah? But it's not like the huzzah. It's huzzah? Oh. A little Jewish coming out of me there, sort of, kind of. We're about to start. You have all your fun gadgets together. We're going to eat a Jewish dessert, right? You found it?
I think so.
She found it, well, we know it was in the Jewish section anyway, so it's got to be. We're going to be eating some desserts and also some finger foods afterwards together and fellowshipping. And now as we get ready, have your woo and your clacker, boo, all ready. So you got to pay attention. What a good way. We should do this with everything, right? Pick out a word or two. Everybody has to make some kind of noise. You wouldn't miss a beat, though, would we? All right. May we learn something as well as the children and adults alike can have some fun. So basically, the scene is the king is sitting on his throne and people are eating. And Vashti was his wife. And she's sitting at her own banquet with the women. That's kind of how they did things back then. So in the land of Persia, in the capital of Shushan, it came to pass in the days of the reign of King Ahasuerus. Now, some scriptures say Xerxes, that he planned a feast to display all his wealth and riches, which lasted 180 days for all of his officials, nobles, and princes. What a long feast. And so 180 days of feasting, and I wonder what their diet plan was. At the end of the feast, he gave a 7-day banquet, more feasting, for all the people, including his servants. And on the 7th day of the feast, the king said, "Bring my beautiful queen Vashti to me, so that I may show her to my guests." So the servants walked to get Vashti, and they went to her and asked her to appear before the king. But Vashti said, "No, I will not appear before the king, who is so merry with wine, just so he can show me off." Liver. I don't know what she was thinking. If she was merry with wine too, I'm not sure. Or unmarried. The servants returned to the king and told him that Vashti refused to come. So the king said, "What? My queen will not come?" I am so angry. This greatly displeased the king, and so he said to his council and to the princes of the kingdom, "What should be done with this lack of honor and disobedience of my queen?" Now, it isn't something you do. You do not go against the king back then. Prince Memucan told the king that Vashti had not only wronged the king, but she had also set a bad example to the other wives in the kingdom. He told the king that she was not worthy of what had been given to her, and she displayed ungratefulness towards the king. He said, "Take her title and all that you have given to her, and give it to someone who will appreciate it and obey you." So the king wrote on a scroll, and he gave it to a messenger servant. And he sent out a message to all the people to let them know that such behavior would not be tolerated by the women in the land. And then the king said, "Find me a new queen." So the servants took Vashti away, and they brought in Esther. There you go. Good job. And it came to pass that the king sent his servants to gather all the young, beautiful maidens into a beauty contest. The winner would win the right to be crowned as the king's new royal wife. So now in Shushan, there was a certain Benjamite named Mordecai. He and his uncle's daughter, Hadassah, had been taken captive from Jerusalem by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. So Mordecai took Hadassah to raise as his own daughter because she had no father nor mother. While in captivity, her name was changed from the Persian name, or to a Persian name, Esther. Mordecai told her to keep it a secret that she was an Israelite. So Esther was very beautiful. And so she was taken to the king's house to be prepared for the contest. She spent 6 months being purified with oil of myrrh and 6 months with sweet perfumes to get ready. I guess they had to cover a lot of stuff up. Esther's Uncle Mordecai checked on her every day to see what would become of her. After the king had seen all the maidens, he said, "Ready? Armed? I like Esther. Bring her to me, and I will make her my queen." So Esther comes before the throne to receive her crown. And so Esther obtained favor above all the other maidens from the king. And he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen in place of Vashti. Then there was a great feast to celebrate. Esther's cousin, Mordecai, sat at the king's gate, and one day he overheard 2 of the servants planning to harm the king. He told Esther, "You guys are good." And she had it certified and recorded into the king's records. After an investigation, the men were both hanged on a tree. Haman, there you go, now enters the scene. Haman was trusted by the king, who set him above all the other princes. All the king's servants bowed down to him except Mordecai. Mordecai was a faithful Israelite who obeyed the Torah, the living word, and he would not bow down to anyone except for Elohim. When Haman found out that Mordecai was an Israelite from the captive kingdom of Yehuda, he sought to destroy him and all of the Israelites. And so in the month of Nisan, no, it's not the car, the first month of Yahweh's calendar, the people were casting lots, or what is called Purim, which is where we get Purim. And they were casting lots before Haman. Wicked thoughts were on the mind of Haman, and he wanted to act upon those. So he went to the king and he said, "My king, there are people in your kingdom who have different laws, and they don't keep your laws. They are no profit to you. Therefore, I ask that you destroy these people. And if you do, I will give 10,000 talents of silver to your treasury." Then Haman said, "Here is my ring. Let it be as you say," the king said. "Call my scribes to deliver the decree." And so it was written as Haman requested that the Israelites were to be destroyed, all of them, including the women and the children, the old and the young. On the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar, the decree was sent to all the provinces throughout the land. Mordecai sent word immediately to Esther about what was to happen to all her kinsmen. He and all the Israelites were wailing and fasting because of their fate. He asked Esther to appeal to the king to save her and her people. And Mordecai fell to the ground wailing. But Esther knew that if she went before the king without being called for, she could be put to death. And yet if she remained silent, she and her people would certainly die, especially when the king realized that she too was an Israelite. "What shall I do, O Yahweh, Elohim? Please help me." And Esther fell to the floor in prayer. After a bit, she got up and told her attendant, "Go tell my people to pray and fast 3 days with no food or drink, as so shall I do. Then I will go before the king, even if he hasn't beckoned me. If I die, then I shall die. Tell my people to pray that I will receive favor from the king, and my life will be spared when I approach his throne." So for 3 days, Esther and her people fasted and prayed and asked Elohim to intercede on their behalf. Esther got up and approached the king, which, by the way, was something you weren't supposed to do without being summoned. So she was being very, very daring. She was putting her life on the line for her people. And it came to pass that when the king saw Esther entering his court gate, he was pleased and granted her favor and invited her in. She definitely found favor, didn't she? Then he said, "Welcome, my queen. What can I do for you?" Esther said, "O king, if I have found favor with you, please attend a banquet in my chamber and bring Haman to dine with me forever, or to dine with me tomorrow. Forever, I don't think so. Well, to dine with me tomorrow." And the king said, "Of course, my queen, we will attend." And so the king and Haman attended the queen's banquet, and when asked by the king what her request was, Esther replied, "Please, my king, Would you both come and dine with me again tomorrow? And I will tell you then my request. Now Haman went to school. Good job. Haman goes to speak with his wife. Haman was so puffed up with pride at being asked to dine with the king and queen that he said to his wife, I'm invited to Queen Esther's chambers again. She really likes me. This is good and will be prosperous for me, I'm sure. However, I'll not be satisfied nor happy until I destroy Mordecai, who refuses to bow down to me at the king's gate. So Zeresh, Haman's wife, said, why don't you just be done with Mordecai and have a gallows built to have him hung? That will make you feel better, and then go back and enjoy yourself with the king and the queen. That night, Yahweh stirred the king to awaken. Not being able to sleep, the king decided to read through the records of the kingdom. Upon reading, he came across the account of Mordecai being responsible for saving his life. And this caused him to ask his servant, what has been done to honor Mordecai for saving my life? The king's servant answered, why, I don't believe we did anything to honor the man named Mordecai, my king. So the king summoned for Haman to inquire of him as to how to honor a man who served the king. Notice he didn't tell him who. Haman was so full of pride that he actually thought the honor was going to be bestowed upon himself. So he said, give the man a robe and set him high upon a horse, and have a servant take him throughout the kingdom and proclaim to the people that he is to be honored and esteemed. What a great idea, the king said to Haman. Since it was your wonderful idea, I want you to take Mordecai and honor him as you have said, for this man has saved my life. Haman was shocked and mortified. And I want to say mortified. Okay. He was shocked and mortified, for it was not him, but Mordecai. How could it be, he thought to himself, that he would have to honor the man he wanted to destroy for not honoring and bowing down to him? Nonetheless, Haman composed himself so as not to lose favor with the king, and did as was requested of him. Haman put the robe on Mordecai and leads him around on a horse. And he had to tell the people what he had done in order to be honored. Needless to say, Haman was humiliated and it really says this, madder than an old wet hen. It doesn't say that in the Bible, just let you know. This is their rewrite to modernize. Madder than an old wet hen, by the time he was through with parading Mordecai around. However, the next day, he began to cheer up when he saw that the gallows had been built to hang Mordecai on. Besides, he thought, soon all the Israelites would be destroyed. So off to the banquet he went with the king and the queen. The king, the queen, and Haman had dinner. The king said, my dear Esther, you have been so good and hospitable to me and my counselor Haman. What is your petition? Ask of me and it shall be yours. Esther fell to her knees and humbled herself before the king. "Oh, my husband, my king, if I have found favor with you, please spare my life and that of my people. Had we just been sold out to be slaves, we would be content. But now we have been bought and paid for to be destroyed, every man, woman, and child from the face of the earth." The king, outraged, said, I can't pronounce tonight. Outraged. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Okay. Outraged. Who has done such a thing? And Esther pointed to Haman. I was waiting for the kids to get in there. Yeah. This wicked man, Haman, she said to the king, "You see that man? Look at the man over there, Mordecai, who saved your life. He is my cousin. He has been like a father to me since my family was killed during the time we were taken captive and brought into exile. Mordecai's people are my people." At this point, Haman falls down from fear, trips, and falls near Esther. I looked this up, and that part's correct. This phrase was maybe not said. I'll have to reread it in a different version. The king said, "What? Are you trying to force yourself on my queen? Don't touch her." He did say don't touch her. "How dare you do such a thing, even in my own house?" Then the king's servant pointed out that Haman had a gallows built to hang Mordecai. Fury grew in the king's heart, and he needed to take care of the matter. So he said, "Hang Haman." Even though we wanted to say yay there, right? Hang Haman on the gallows. The king gave the household of Haman to Queen Esther. Then he took his signet ring away from Haman, which designated his authority, and gave it to Mordecai and put him in charge. Yay. The king then explained that he could not change his decree, for his word would be good. But he said to Mordecai, "You are second in command of my kingdom, and I will issue a decree concerning the Israelites that they will be able to defend themselves whenever they are attacked." So see, he had issued a decree that they were to be killed. And he couldn't go back. It was a thing. If a king said it, it had to be done. But now he said, you can fight back. So when the day came for the Israelites to be destroyed, only those who hated them attacked them. The king's soldiers helped the Israelites because they were afraid of Mordecai and the authority of Yahweh Elohim that had been given to him. Thus there was a victory for the Israelites. They won the war. The sons of Haman were hung along with their father, for his wicked plan had returned to him to pierce his own heart. Esther was very happy and rejoiced for her people. Then Esther said, Yahweh has delivered us. Let it be written that these days of Purim, which are the 13th and 14th day of the 12th month, were to be the destruction of Elohim's people, but he has turned it around for our good and destroyed our enemies. May this be recorded and remembered throughout every generation, that Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, has delivered his people. And Mordecai and Esther signed a decree. Then Esther signed a decree to always remember Purim copies to all the Israelites throughout the land. Yahweh remembered Mordecai's faithfulness to him and his obedience and exalted him as he had done for Joseph and made him second in command to the king. Mordecai did good for all the Israelites and the people of the land because of Esther's bravery. That's how it's done, folks. And this might be why we don't do it every year, but it's kind of fun, right? It's silliness, but you get to remember a story. And when it's told to us in more of a story form in a modern English, it's kind of neat. This is from that area of the world, kind of, by the way, this hat. I brought this hat with me from Uzbekistan. Some of you didn't know what Uzbekistan was. It's a country above Afghanistan. This hat, I thought I'd wear kind of in honor of Esther, but it's actually what they wore when they were engaged. Right? Instead of the ring, it's this whole thing. And that's not all. They get to wear the same outfit. They maybe make two of them every day for the whole time they're engaged. That guy better marry her quick. It's beautiful. They call it the king's cloth. It's very colorful. It's different. It's silky. Then when they get married, they flip the hat to put this tassel on the other side, and they still get to wear the same two outfits forever and ever. No, it's for 1 year after they get married. I'm glad we get a ring over here, folks. And I think they're bringing the practice of rings in, but this is hard to wear. Of course, I don't have a pinhead, and I'm just saying it was probably a young person or someone with not as fluffy a hair. I don't know. But it's just like, I got nothing. I don't know. I'm just like, this is one of those days where all I want to say now is, let us celebrate and eat.